Welcome back, data leaders. We are continuing our S3, making it your data warehouse activity. In this video, we will be looking at another way of uploading the data to S3 bucket. We will be using the series of wr.s3 to CSV to Parquet to JSON and to Excel method for writing the data from your local file directory to local file directory to S3 bucket. How are we going to do that? We are going to look into that using the Jupyter notebooks again. I hope you already downloaded the repo that I have shared with you, and inside this repo we will be continuing to use the file writing files into s3.ipynb. This file is what we will be using for this video. Head back to the terminal. Inside the terminal, you should be inside the S3 warehouse playbook. This is the repo which you have downloaded from the Git repo GitHub link that I have shared in the description. And inside this one, you have to execute the command Jupyter notebook. The moment you execute this command, it will spawn the server. In this server, we will be continuing to work on executing the commands and writing the data to AWS, your own AWS accounts bucket. In the last video, we have seen how to upload the files. We have already seen how to upload the files. The files that we already had in our local environment, we saw how to upload it. Now we are going to see how to write the data. You might be wondering what is the difference between writing the data and uploading the file. Let me clarify that. In the last video, we uploaded these files, .csv file, .txt file directly to the S3 buckets. There is another way of doing it. That is what you are going to see it in this video. My Jupyter Notebook server has already spawned. You can see that here. My Jupyter Notebook server has already spawned and it has provided the link. In my case, I went back to the browser and I gave this address, localhost address on port number 8888, and I got the list of folders in the directory. I click this Jupyter Books and you see the files here. I am going to click on writing files into S3. It will open up into a separate tab as it is opening here. Once it opens up, we have to follow the same process that we followed for all the videos. We have to first import all the necessary libraries: AWS Wrangler, pandas, Boto 3, warning, config parser. We have to assign the config parser object to credence variable, read our credentials.config file, assign those important secrets to Python variables, and establish the session. Once you do this for a couple of times, it becomes very straightforward. You will keep on remembering this forever, and you can continue using it for other projects, other more complex projects. These 5 steps that you follow here are required for almost all the initial projects that you are going, initial steps for all the projects that you are going to do. We will be continuing to use our destination folder as our S3 bucket, the bucket that I had shown in the initial video, the earlier video, the destination folder. That will be our bucket name. In this video, we will be continuing to use the continuing to write to the same destination bucket folder. What is the difference between write and uploading file? When I say write, I am going to write the data. I am going to write the raw bytes from my local environment, execution environment, to S3 bucket. Now, next question you might be thinking, what is bytes? In Python, there is a library called as pandas. I have already imported this library, import pandas as PD. This pandas library is very important for all the data science, data engineering, and data analysis activities. You have to, if you have not gone through this or if you are not aware of it, kindly do a research. I will also post the link of the pandas library. We are going to use only one method of pandas library, that is read CSV. So I am going to read the CSV file and I'm going to convert the CSV file as data frame. The data frame that you are seeing here is created by using the top earners list.csv. Let me show you how the top earners list.csv file looks like. If I go into, I can use the Jupyter notebooks to read or execute my operating system's command by using the exclamation magic. The operating system command in case of Linux is cat. In case of Windows, it will be type. Remember this. In case of Windows, it will be different. In case of Linux, it will be different. So I'll be using cat command and I'm going to read. I'm going to see what is inside the top earners list.csv file. If I execute this, you will see that I get a lines like this. And if you compare these lines with the names and with the rows and columns here, you see it matches exactly. So Joel is here, Joel at athena.com, and you see the salary here, and you see the occupation as mathematician. Basically, the pandas.read CSV file has read this CSV file and converted it into data frame. The next step, what we are going to do is to understand what is the bytes that I'm talking about. If I use the command type and earners, just a minute. Yeah, now it has executed. And if I use the type command on earners.csv, you will see that the Python is giving a object name as pandas core.frame.dataframe. This means this variable is the data frame object. Objects in Python execution environment is a series of bytes. In order to work on the various information or data contained in the object, it has to be stored as bytes in your RAM, in your processor. Then only the computer, the Python compiler, can do the algorithm, do the modifications and transformations. When you want to write it back to file, you need to convert it. That process is what we are going to see. And we are going to use the AWS Wrangler libraries S3.2CSV method. There will be multiple files that we will be writing. We will be looking at the S3.2CSV method options, the parameters or the arguments that we will be using. So we will have the path. This is the destination bucket path. We will have the index. Important, we will have the Boto 3 session. Whether this is going to be dataset or not, we will come to this later in the following videos. File name prefix, this is very important. We will come to partition calls in the future videos. This is advanced. If you are going to give any bucket info, this also is advanced. We will come to that later. These are all again advanced parameters, which we will look into when we are concentrating on Athena and Glue Glue services. What we want to concentrate is on path, on Boto 3 session, and the file name prefix. As we come down here, we pass the data frame object, this data frame object earners_csv as a df here. Then we give the destination bucket or destination path. So in this case, the destination bucket plus I need to give the prefix. This is called the prefix in AWS. if I take this if I take this part of the command and if I execute this separately, you will see that the entire path gets built. You see S3 destination folder under /csv / right underscore top dot underscore earnest.csv. This got created by concatenating this variable with this string. If I go ahead and change this variable at the top, if I go ahead here and if I change this variable, for example, to source folder, I change this here. This is for an example. I'll be making it to the original one. And if I come back and execute this again, you see my the path name changed. You must be understanding why we do this, why we are assigning the path to a Python variable like this. Whenever we want to make any programmatic ways of access, we need to ensure all the path variables are assigned as all the path that you are going to use are assigned to Python variables like this. So if you change it in one location, only in one location, that is in this place, you change the variable value, it will change in all the other locations in this Jupyter notebook. That is the purpose of it. Let me continue with the wrs3.toCSV method. We have already assigned the data frame. What data frame we are going to use? This is the data or the payload that we will be uploading to our bucket, and this is the destination, and this is our session. Without this session, the Wrangler library will throw an error that your client is not, there is a client error. So I will execute that and show it to you what kind of error it will throw. I will delete this session and I will try to execute, and you will see that it throws the client error here. You will see no credentials error. That means I have not provided the credentials. I come back here and I put the credentials, and now if I execute, it will execute. But before that, I want to ensure that my destination, what are there in my destination folder. For that, I go W3 S3, I use list objects method. I give the path as destination bucket, and I always have to give the Boto 3 session. This is important. Without that, it is not going to work, as you saw in the earlier 2 minutes back. It lists that my destination bucket has destination folder. Under that, there are two files, .csv and .txt. Remember, we are going to right now write the files in CSV folder in right top earners.csv. That is what we are going to do. So if I execute this command now, it has already done. It has written to the AWS S3 bucket. And again, if I execute this command, that is the list objects, you will see that it has the file that you have written. If you want to recheck, you can go to your AWS buckets also, and if you see, and if you refresh it here, you will see that there is the CSV file like this, right top one. You can click that CSV file also, and if you want, you can check what is the content of the CSV file by coming here, query with select S3 select. You see it is a CSV format, comma separated, you see none. And if you execute this, run SQL query like this, it will execute. It is running here, and you see all the data has been uploaded here. That is how you write the pandas data frame. You write the pandas data frame, this pandas data frame as a CSV file to the S3 bucket. That is called writing. Now we will be going through other ways of writing. We will be going through the rest of the commands in a little precise and brief way. First and foremost command is to Excel. This Excel file can, we are going to write the same data frame as Excel file now. You will see the prefix has changed here. I am going to use XLS, and if I execute this, it will again write the file. And if I execute the list objects, you'll see that my file has got written. If you want, you can come back here again and go back to your destination folder on your GUI. Initially, you have to check like this, going back and forth, so that you are more confident that whatever you are writing, whatever program you are writing is executing properly. So we have the XLS file here under the Excel folder. Come back to the Jupyter books again. We are going to write it as XLSX file. This is different. The two Excel method will write the file as both XLSX and XLS. Both the earlier version of Excel file and the latest version of XLSX file also it will write. You can go back here and you can check it. So there will be two files right now, XLS and XLSX. And next file which you are going to write is Parquet. Parquet method of writing files is very, very important in big data. This is Parquet file is a columnar storage file. This will compress the file way higher, and it will save a lot of space. For this small file, it may not make a difference, but when you are going to work in files that are terabytes, work with data frames that are very huge, very large, that time always you should use two Parquet method only. You should use two Parquet method, and we have to always specify data set equal to true. That is how you have to write the Parquet file. You have to just execute this, and it will write the Parquet file to this destination. There are a couple of differences when it comes to Parquet file. You will see that I have not given the file name. You don't need to give it. This is how the big data works. You will understand as I go deeper into this series of videos. I will be explaining how when you are writing the regular data files like XLSX, the CSV, and even JSON, and when we write files like Parquet, how the things are different. I'll be explaining that. Again, if you list it, you'll see that the Parquet file has got listed here, and the name has been automatically provided. And you come back here to your buckets destination folder, you will see there is a new folder called as Parquet. That is how you do that. And finally, we are going to write JSON file. You are going to write the JSON file, and you are going to verify that. So you see that it has written the JSON file. And the most important thing, whenever you have completed all your activity, keep your S3 buckets clean. Do not leave any of the data back, because as I told you, S3 has a 5 GB limit for free tier. If you go overboard that, then you will be charged. And you might be surprised that when you get a mail telling that your S3 limit has been crossing. So always, when you are completing your tutorials, clean up the S3 buckets. For that, you can use S3 delete objects. And again, you have to use the path destination bucket and Boto 3 session. I execute this. You will see that all these files that I uploaded will be gone in a second. And I can actually check it here by using list objects. It will be empty bucket. And if you go back to my own buckets, and if I refresh it, you will see all the files are gone. That is how fast you can execute if you are going to use Jupyter notebooks. The entire process of writing the data and deleting the data was done in 20 minutes without even touching the GUI. I did not touch any of this GUI. I did not click on upload. I did not use any options. I did not move through various steps the Amazon Web Services makes me to follow. All I need to do is give the session name, create the session like this, create the session, create the pandas data frame, and then follow whatever file name, whatever file type I want to write. I need to use that method and write the file. That is how simple the activity can be. Stay tuned, guys. We are going to next enter into downloading the data from S3 buckets. How are we going to download that? We are going to see that there is two ways. We will be downloading it directly as files, and also we will be downloading it as, again, pandas data frame. Stay tuned for that. See you, data leaders.